Hi everyone, so Patreon time, here we are, first of the private videos. I'm going to be doing really all just painting in this one. We're not doing any modelling. I've done a little bit of modelling to it, but nothing that needs to be shown to you. We're going to be doing a Lambda, first order Lambda. I've had a couple of you guys inquiring about how I do the blue, white and the black kind of style I've been doing on the Imperial ships, so the first order paint scheme, so to speak, with the red symbols. So that's what I'm going to work on. I've got a Lambda. I've got one that's already painted. I'm going to let you have a look at. So now let's bring that in. You can have a look on the close-up. So we're going to do 2 shots today, to my face and overhead. So this is the Lambda. You've seen pictures of it on the internet. Let's turn this around for you a little bit more. It's got these beautiful blue and whites, and then these subtly grey edged. This is quite a graphic style, but it just works so well on this ship, on these ships period. So that's what we're working towards. This may well be split up into a few videos. So what I've got a Lambda that I've painted black. But what I've done with this one, the wings are fixed. They don't open or close anymore because along this line here, there's a join line that when you do it, it splits apart a little bit. So I fixed the wings, I've filled the line along here. I've cleaned off all my mould lines. I probably spent an hour or so on this, just getting it to this point. You need to be mindful around your guns, little edges, when mould line presses on the side of the canopy, this actual wing, there's little bits that are not cleaned off 100% properly. Take your time, do that, go around and do it. So look, I'm not going to spend too much preaching. This one's going to be more about you guys watching. So I'm going to base coat the white areas. I'll show you what we base coat it in. So I've got my brush and I'm using electric blue. Let's come in a bit for you. So it's Game Air, electric blue, good shake. And let's get some paint in and let's get painting. Oh, have you seen I've got my gloves on, guys? Yeah, it's important. I say it to you all the time. Now we're painting, we are not going to be touching this stuff with our hands. Old man glasses, on we go. Let's give her a bit of a spray out. You can see, I'll keep doing that. See, already, I feel like there's something on my needle. I'm just going to double check. So I've got my little wet brush. I'm just going over my needle. There may have been a little bit of dried particle on there. It's nice and clean now. Right, so it's all black and I am going to get overspray and I am going to need to repaint, but I'm still just going to base coat the areas roughly where I want it to be white with this blue. So guys, don't expect me to talk and talk and talk at you. Some of this video may well get speeded up. And some of it might not. I'm sure we might just put a bit of music over the top of some of it. Let me just... I've noticed I've got a little bit of fluff. I've always got my tweezers handy, just to get rid of that. So, other side. So with your brush, you'll get to know it And see, at the moment, I know my brush is spitting out a little bit irregular, but that's all right. There's probably a little bit of imperfection on the needle. But as soon as I'm just base coating, I can get away with it being a little bit rough and ready. So moving along. But we'll do a quick little clean in a minute. So obviously I'm going to end up having to go over some of the black, but it was easier just to give it all a big black base coat as a kind of a primer. I used the rattle can when I did that. Thin coats, when you're painting anything smaller, you don't want to use the rattle cans. You want to base coat out your brush as well. It'll help you to keep the detail, whereas this thing's got great big flat panels, hasn't got tiny little like inverted panel lines, unlike a lot of the smaller ships which you don't want to clog with paint. It's going to make it really hard for you later on. So today as well, I'm at the store doing it. People are going to start coming in a little bit later. We might get a delivery. John's in and out, so excuse any interruptions or any noise you hear in the background. Hopefully later there'll be a little bit of music on in the background. So I'll show you what I've done. I've literally just base coated these areas that on this model, let's get it in for you, you can see are going to be white, right? Ultimately, we're starting at that darker blue, right? This what maybe a lot of people don't realise, you've got to go through the stages. I'm just going to dry off with air. Make sure I've got a nice, decent coat of that blue on everything I want. Right, so I'm going to clean my brush. You all know this process. It's really important when you work to keep yourself tidy as well, because if you don't keep yourself tidy, you're just going to have an accident, and there's nothing worse than something you've done just getting covered in a load of paint. So, nice clean through, remember? Scrubbing in that cup out, don't blow through yet. Starting to look nice and clean in there. You can see already, look at the water. Only a little bit of cloud at the bottom. Probably more from my brush. See, look, I can see little dry bits in there floating about. Alright, let's tip that out. Give it a little blast. Yeah, I've definitely got a tiny little blockage at the moment. It's kind of good that you guys see this, right? Because nothing's ever that simple when you're using an airbrush. Part of using an airbrush is keeping it working right. So all I want to do at the moment is I just want to pull it out, pull my needle out. You've got to be really careful when you do this, and give it a wipe over with a baby wipe. Yeah, look, see, there's dry tip. Really be careful of your tip. I've got a little magnifying glass that I look at the tips under, and like even when they look perfect, you'd be surprised. A little dink at the end turns into like a big boulder. Right, so that looks nice and clean. Gently sliding that back in. So a little bit of water, a little test spray. See, I think I've got a tiny little bit of dry paint just coming out the nib. Yeah, that little, even it's just round the entrance to it. Let's get that off. It's a labour of love using an airbrush. And sometimes they'll just be perfect for hours, and then other times there'll be a bit of pain in the bum for an hour, and you have to keep giving them a bit of tender loving care. But you're going to see that. I ain't going to censor none of this stuff. I want you to see how much of a pain in the bum some of it can be. So we're going to go over to a different colour now. We're going to go to the lighter colour, and this is where I'm going to start to do masking. All right, I'm going to get a little bit of paint in my brush ready. This is Wolf Grey. Wolf Grey? Wolf Grey. Game here again, straight out the pot. I don't need too much. There's about 10 drips there, that's all. Right, but before I start painting, see now, you've got a lot of control with an airbrush, and you'll see that I will feather some of this, but with this graphic style I'm trying to do, it's nice to have a hard edge. It's nice to have a hard white edge against some of the blues. It gives you this graphic style. So the way I'm going to do that, there's no cheating. You need to use masking tape. So I've got my cutting mat here, and I've got lots, this is how I work. I've got lots of different thicknesses of masking tape all laid out on the thing. And I'm just going to start, because I'm going to work, so like one panel. This is quite laborious. This is what people don't understand, where the time goes when you painting a model. So I'm going to cut myself a couple of pieces. So I use my tweezers and I use my Swan Morton. I try not to use my fingers too much. And I want to go against this line here. So there you go. So I'm running up against this panel edge with this masking tape. Some people swear by using things like post-it notes to save you having to keep doing it with masking tape, but I don't think post-it notes really stick properly. And I like this. I like these decent, and you can reuse this. You can see I won't just chuck this bit of tape once I've done this bit. So, and I keep cutting my tape because I want different kind of lengths. And I'm going to go across this top one first. So I've got that whole length done and the cross point here. So we're going to work, so the white, the lighter edge is going to be this edge, and then I'm going to shadow it off. It's going to be darker towards the back edge. So this is the edge, this is the leading edge, this will be the lightest edge, and we'll carry that on like consistently on all the panels. So this front edge is going to be the strongest with the darker colour going to the back. So with the Wolf Grey, let's get nicely in shot for you here. You're going to start to see a bit of control. Start on your edge. Yeah, you don't want to blast the paint. You want to cloud it on. So you can see, you can paint with this brush. So you can start to see the contrast. It'll pop even more once I get the black edge in, right? Because at the moment you're not seeing the black edge. But then I'll take this bit of tape off. And now I'm going to move up to this one with the same bit of tape. And then I'm going to repeat the process on the next panel. I'm always checking my brush before I put it on my model. I've got my gloves to check on as well, another little trick. So Ash has just joined us. I do believe that's Ash, or it's a burglar. So this is all about control of your needle. And whenever you feel like, oh, I'm pulling back a bit but I'm getting no paint, just check, little blowout. I'll show you in a minute how after a certain while you get like dry paint on your needle and how to clean it really easy without taking your needle out. So that's enough of the blue-grey on that one. So then I come off. So then we start getting these contrasts between the light grey and the blue. Once I pull this off, you'll see the nice clean line. So these clean lines you can't get any other way. There's other ways of painting. Now I'm going to go, where did I unmask to on that one? So now I'm going to go to the front edge on this panel. There's kind of two lines on this panel, and I'll show you in a bit. I'm going to dust it all with the grey as well in a minute, just to kind of lessen off some of the contrast in some of the places.
I'd never think of reusing the tent. It's brilliant.
Yeah, you got to.
Yeah.
I mean, you do get to a point where it's done, but it's really good, the actual tape, for being able to reuse. You can see some of the masks. Later I'm going to use some masks, and you'll see how some of those have been reused. So I need another bit of tape. So I just cut roughly to where I want. And then we're going to go across the top line here. Tweezers help. So also, if you're touching tape without your fingers, your oils don't degrade the glue, the gum. Whereas when you're touching them with tweezers, they last a bit longer. So another little blowout. And then we'll just repeat it. See? You'll get used to being able to tell when your paint's a bit, when your brush is a bit blocked and you need to blow out. It is part of it. It's, you're going to be doing it all the time with an airbrush. So again, moving up, same bit of tape, unmask, move up to the next panel line. Moving on up. Rasta sings painting songs. Sorry, I'm going to like prattle on a bit. I am concentrating, and to be honest, when I'm not filming, I'm watching the A-Team, and I've got BA on in the background or something like that, so I don't normally talk to myself when I work. So I mean, I like the fact this camera is actually picking up. You can see what's going on. I'll take the front off. Right, so this top panel here, I'm going to catch this without any tape. Right, so I just want to get some white right on this high edge. And then I can give a little bit of a fade in. So kind of going back the opposite way to where we've been coming with light. So coming against it, because I want to, it's graphic, I want to create these different looks. Now I'm going to catch, there's a second line. Let's see if I can get something to explain. So you've got the line I've painted and the edge of the wing, but there's also another line now. So, but I want to catch that slightly with colour. But I don't want to catch it as strongly as I've caught these panels. So I'm just going to use the brush itself to do this. First thing, because I was feeling a little bit like I'm getting, yeah, see, now the tip of the brush, there's dry paint. And that happens when you're like wafting paint, it dries over the needle. So you just need a little bit of water on your cleaning brush, and you just need to go over the needle tip, and that will take off that dry paint. Right? And once you get used to your brush, you'll instantly know she's not spraying right, she's not quite right, and that's because of stuff like that. Just dry tip, it's called. I think it's called. I'm calling it dry tip and copywriting that. Rasta Maice painting. So always testing out away from your model. I don't want to test on the model. So I'm, so to speak, going to catch this edge without going too far in. Now this is about control. When you start doing this, you're pushing the paint in a little bit. I've got this other one, this one down the centre. So I'm just going to catch that a little bit. Just a little bit of very light colour. The deepest panel line, I'm going to go back in with a bit of blue with a brush. You'll see in a minute. Well, in a minute. You'll see later, because I'm not going to rush this. So that's that panel done in the blue-grey. So we've got one more stage. We've got the white to go up to, which we're going to do exactly the same process, less of the panel. I think we're going to keep this as a video where I actually paint the whole ship. So I'm going to get on with doing, do you know what, I'll tackle this wing before we go quiet, because I'm thinking once I start actually trying to paint the whole thing, it's going to take me quite a few hours. That's what happens. And I'll just come back and talk to you when I change colour or whatever. But I don't think you guys really need to see in real time how long, you know, sit through the real-time process of me painting this ship, because it might get a bit boring. You just need to see the technique, and then you can go away and practice. But it's nice for you guys to actually have a record where you can see it from start to finish being done, kind of see the processes and just the rigmarole I go through, and that you guys are going to need to go through if you want to try and do this. So I've got two little panels in there, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to mask this one as well and paint this one separately, and then paint the other panel. So you're looking at this masking tape and probably thinking, I'm going to get spray everywhere. Airbrush is really like fine. If you hold them close enough and you only give a little bit of air and paint, it gives you like a pinpoint. Well, not pinpoint exactly, a little bit broader than a pinpoint. But it's quite a narrow point you get, so you can actually put it quite where you want it. You do need the mask, but it shouldn't overspray past there. So let's have a look what we're doing here. So you notice I'm using my tweezers to take off as well, because I don't want to damage anything. I want my nails going across it, so I got rid of that. Let's take those off, we don't need those. And now I'm going to do the broader rectangle, but coming up. So you're going to go near the work you've just done. So this time I'm going to catch both edges with my brush. And then work it up. And then going along the edge of the tape now, more than the actual model, and you just catch the edge of that panel line. But you see I've still left, so I don't even know if you can still see. Let's take off this bit of tape, it might help for you guys to see. Yeah, you can, I think you can, yes you can. So I can see on this picture, so you can see there's this line of this edge, and then there's also this other line running down this panel line, right, that I've caught, but I've still got some blue because I was catching the tape more than I was catching this, And so it's just the overspray's caught that panel line. Right, this is a real time consuming process. However, it's very, very satisfying when you do it all. It's a labour of love, yeah? So don't get off put, or you know, don't think you're going to get this sort of stuff done in 10 minutes, because it's just not going to happen. Right, it's going to take you a while. So this bit of masking tape is starting to seem worse for wear, so it's probably the last time I'm going to use this bit. Right, let's get that on there. Yeah, it's probably the last time she's had it now. So I'm using my brush to tweezers to just make sure that's got an edge. A little bit of dry paint. A little bit more bottom. So you can see I've had a few uses out of these couple of bits of masking tape. So she's spitting a bit, she got a bit dry again. Let's just wipe that over with a brush, get any dry paint off. So I'm going to do an episode where we use a sonic cleaner, where you take the brushes apart and actually clean them. It is quite a big deal. I know you can change colours easily, but you do every so often need to thoroughly clean your airbrushes. Bit more tape, bit more clean tape. So I'm just going to waft a little bit of this over, just to take the edge off some of the really, really dark blue, which I don't think we need all over. I'll put in any extra blue I need later. So that's that. Those two panels. You can see we've got the blue-grey going on. Right, so I'm going to crack on. I think we're probably going to go quiet now, or go into like massive speed-up motion on the camera. So enjoy the music. I'll see you on the other side. Right, so blue grey's done. I've just realised I haven't actually painted the underneath panels on the other model, so I'm going to go back and black those back out. Don't need to do them under there. We're just going to do these parts. I kind of like the idea where it just puts its livery down when it's in flight, and when it's folded it's all black. So I'm going to repeat the process of what I've just been showing you, but I'm going to put in the white now. So imagine you were painting a miniature with a brush. You're gonna, as you highlight, you just put less and less on. This is what we're gonna do now. The white, it's like these blues are quite obvious. When you put the white, it does have a nice contrast against it. So let's start again. So I'm gonna keep you with me for these first few bits, just so we can see and talk about the difference. I'm just going to keep you with me for this top wing, and then we're either going to cut or we'll speed up, whatever the director decides is the best. This one's been a bugger. Come on, stick on. Get in the right spot. So when you're remasking, I suppose if you had two airbrushes, you could be doing this all at once, but I haven't. I have got two airbrushes, I just haven't got two ports, and I've got used to doing things a certain way, so I'm going to keep doing them like that. So I need another clean. Oh, these. This is what I stand my brush in, and what you can clean your brush out into. I don't know what they're called, to be honest. Kev brought it for me, but I need to have another brush clean, another paint clean. Well, I've just dropped my needle on the floor. My nib on the floor. There we go, found it. So that was the sound of Rasta straining, because Rasta's like 175 years old. And it doesn't do bending anymore. Bending was funny. Right, so water out the way. Like I said, clear up. And we're dead white. Game air, dead white. Next colour, straight up to white. So I have a little. So I'm just tapping my brush now, because when you wash them, sometimes they just get water in the inside of that cup, and it's spit out as your first spray. And we're going to give it a little blow through. Just any blue that was in there is kind of gone now. Okay, so let's go back to my model. So I'm being really gentle. Take your time. The better your light in here, the better, so you can see you can kind of start to see where the white's actually on. Right, you do want to leave some of that wolf grey. Catch those leading edges with a pure white. See that? You can see, look. Oh, I've got, look, just tiny little bits. You can't, it's very, look. You see in front of my brush? You can see it's very controlled. Not like that, I don't want to do that and just cane it. Just take your time, build up. That's kind of good. I'm going to use this black card again as a training aid. So an opacity, because you're dusting, you go back, the white will get stronger. So I'm sure you can see between that blue there and that white there how strong. Alright, I've got to be honest, the monitor I'm viewing this on is quite crap. So I'm hoping that the picture's a little bit clearer. Can you see that? So you can definitely see there, I'm sure you can, how bright white that is. It's like shiny teeth, shiny Simon Cowell teeth. So also, just on a kind of personal level, this is just me painting, right? So if I say bollocks when I get something wrong, no one get offended. That's just me. I do have a kind of a colourful vocabulary. You'll sometimes maybe see me just stop for a minute. That's because I'm having a vape or I'm having a drink. I was a heavy smoker for many years, and I vape now. It's much better for me. It's kind of my only vice. I can't sit here and paint without having a vape, I'm afraid. Just drying off with a bit of there. Let's get you off. Just going to catch that corner. So once I peel this line, in fact, do I want to catch that bottom anymore? No, I don't. I'm going to take that off and peel this line. So you can definitely see the difference between these three panels and those three panels. So you've still got that back edge of this grey, and now you've got the white coming in, and we've got the blue. So we've got three nice separate colours, and in fact with a little bit of the overspray there's like a 1,000 shades of that same colours. Right, so for those of you that have seen some of my work in person, you'll know the photographs, and I put this on a lot of my posts, and some people might think it's me kind of trying to sound big-headed or whatever, but the photographs never really do the models any justice, because a lot of these processes are so beautifully subtle. The cameras actually struggle to pick up. Modern day cameras, they try and make everything mid-grey. So when you actually do this for yourself, or you commission me to paint one for you, and you get it in the post with a pack of Haribo, you will actually see that there's so many levels going on here. You can achieve so many things with these techniques. And this is, I'm not just going to paint this with an airbrush. But this actual piece is heavily airbrushed. Right, we are going to hit edges, especially on the black, with a hand brush later. But these white parts generally are just airbrushed, and a lot of the main thing I do on this actual piece, it is because of the airbrush. But I'm letting you into my trade secrets here. It's probably going to be the last Imperial commission I ever do, because you're going to go out and paint your own. So yeah, you can see, right, this is a laborious, painstaking labour of love, right? And that's what model making is. There's no quick routes. There might be a few, you know, cheaty routes, but if you really want exceptional quality, you have to put the time in. So I'm just drying off. No, don't worry, I'm not splattering it with white. So, just so you guys know, little things I'm doing. So when I need to clear my brush and I give it a big spray on a bit of paper, I then just spray air without paint a couple of times away because it will spit a little bit of excess. So, let's peel that off. There you go. I'm going to catch a couple of bits with the brush without masking because I want a little bit of a white edge. Put that on these corners. Right, so you can probably more so now. I don't know whether I'm a bit colourblind, so what I'm looking at on the screen, I'm sure you guys can see now the blue and the white that's in there. Right, once we edge that with black, it's really going to pop out, really going to pop out. So look, I'm going to go quiet now, and we're going to have a bit more speeded up. I'm going to have a little vape, and I'm going to crack on with all this, and I'm going to get all the white done, and then I'm going to use a stencil to put a lovely symbol on this and on this wing part here. So catch you in a minute. Right, I'm back. I have done all my white highlighting on my panels. Before I go any further and clean up around the edges, all the black, I'm going to put a stencil on over these white areas. So it's a first order logo. These are done by the incredible Mr. Lee Dalton from Protect Models. Does all my masks. I may have mentioned it 1 or 2 times before. So I need this centre part. I'm going to do this top wing first. These do not like my gloves. So if possible, you want to try and hold them just with some tools. They're actually better with bare hands than gloves. So I'm gonna have a look at that one. I reckon about. See, what I'm going to try and do is work out a mark on here so I can see where this goes. If I line that edge up with the panel line, it's roughly there. Push this down. Let's get this base off. Right, let's get my glasses on so I can see what I'm doing properly. Right, so I use these things, clay shapers, for sculpting. But I sometimes use them when I need a mask to go over an edge, because you want these masks down because you will bleed paint underneath them otherwise. So this is me managing to push them onto the surface nicely without damaging the paint underneath with like a sharp edge. Then I need the external part so that I've got that line. So now, because I actually don't need the whole thing, I'm just going to cut this to make my life a bit easier. Let's keep that on there. That lets my, by the way, the stress token lets my director know when he needs to actually switch the sound back on, or to not fast forward, or not to skip to the next bit. This is the important stuff, because we're recording loads and loads of footage, but only some of it's going to be anything you guys are interested in. Right. So this is always quite tricky, this bit. So before you go committing, you need to make sure that you've got like an even thickness of line. And I am cheating this a little bit and making it a little bit wider than the mask's intended, but I want a slightly thicker red outline. Right, so this will do. This is on fine. So then now what I need to do is mask this edge, these edges. Right, so before, when I was masking, I weren't worried too much about overspray, even if there was a tiny bit, because it was all going to end up getting hidden by the next levels, the next layers of colour. However, I really don't want any red overspray on this, because it'll really show up really badly. So I'm actually going to do like a second line on this bit here, just to guarantee that I don't mess up and I don't get that overspray, because once you screw up at this point, you can't fix it. So, right. So if you can hear any noise in the background, they're playing Legion at the moment. So excuse the noise. So I'm sure you guys can see, I've got the centre mask, I've got the edge, which is going to give me that circular shape, and I've just masked up so I don't get any overspray. There should be plenty of space. So I'm going to go with this one. It's all game air. This is bloody red. Bloody red. Bloody red. So it's actually getting quite empty, this bottle. I've used so much red. Gonna have to buy another bloody red. Right, so when you're using masks, I don't know if you guys remember the first ever video I did where I tested an airbrush. You just want to gently build up the paint. Yeah, just like that. Yeah, if you go blasting it, it'll just leach under the mask. So you're probably looking at a few coats here. And you want to try and keep it like square to it, directly above it. You don't want to spray at an angle because it will go under any bits of the mask that are not completely touching the model. But if you spray from above, the mask acts like it should, like a stencil. So you can see we're starting to build that red in. And you've got to remember that the undershadow, because you've got different colour base coat, that's going to affect the red slightly as well. So you will get a little bit of highlight, low light, but we just want a nice strong red. So a bit of air, drying it off. Now, these masks are reusable. Just got to be careful with them. So gently. Oop. Off she comes, look at that. Look at that, it's quite sexual, that. Take your time. Yeah, you don't want to rip at it because you can damage paint, yeah? I actually got a tiny bit of overspray. Yep, should have masked up that corner. You see there's a tiny little bit of overspray, but I'll go back later and I'll fix that with a bit of white because it's right on that corner, so it shouldn't be too hard for me to fix. But I won't do it right now because I've got my red in my brush. But that shows you what I mean. So if you can see it, there's a tiny faint overspray there because it's such a contrast, red and white, and any mistakes will really show up. So again, off with this, and look, you can see how great these masks are. Look how sharp that is. Right, you couldn't do that by hand. Well, you probably could, but it's not so much the first one, it's when you try and recreate it on the other side exactly. That's when you actually struggle in kind of real life, real world painting situations. Yeah, really like that. And it'll become more pronounced once we get that black edge and you can actually see where the panel stops. So what we do, let's do the one on the wing, just so you can see the process again. So smaller mask this time, same sort of principle, but smaller mask. And we're going to be going in the corner. So I actually want to cut part of this off because that way I've got a little ruler somewhere. There we go. So I'm going to cut completely through this mask like that. And I'm going to pick that out. Get my tweezers. And now we are going to go in the corner. I don't want to do the whole thing, I just want to catch a corner. So let's have a look. Think about how this is going to go on. Probably a little bit further up, about there. Is that right? Do I want to go a bit more onto that front panel? Looking at the other one I've done, I'm going to go a little bit more onto that front panel. Yeah, I'd say that's about right. So again, getting my clay shaper, getting in there, kind of shaping the mask to fit this uneven surface. Then let's get off this So, tricky again. So let's right. So that's on. Yeah. So, masking. I'm going to use the wider one this time, I think, after last time's slight mistake. Right, sufficiently covered it this time. So, like I said, build it up. Straight over the top, not at an angle. Just drying off with air. Last little coat. That's that one done. So let's unmask. Try and get the masking tape separate so you can reuse this bit. I'll put this on my backing paper, and let's get that bit off. There we go. So that's the two symbols that I want to use. I also want to put a little red band across this bottom part, so I'm going to do that just with masking tape. So here's another little trick of the trade. So I want to keep like a regular interval to certain things, so that when I do it on the other wing it's exactly the same. So I'm going to use the actual thickness of this masking tape as a bit of a guide. So this is a slightly thinner one than I just used. You can get this stuff in all different thicknesses. So I'm lining this up with the bottom of this panel. So I know that I've actually got a straight edge for a start. Then I'm going to take another piece and I'm going to put this in the middle as a way of measuring the line. Right, that's two, and now I can use a thicker piece for the top, it doesn't matter. So, and I can butt this right up to that piece and take that out. So then I know that when I do this line on the other side of the model, it will be the same thickness. So let's cut a couple of bits of this just to put over here, because I don't want to damage it. Right. So there we go. So I'm going to just put my finger over there, and same again, and straight over the top. straight away. That's great. Let's unpeel. Fingers acted like a little second barrier, little check safe. Gently, gently. Right, so there you go. Got your symbol this side, and my little white, my little red stripe going across that bottom panel. Now I'm going to crack on and I'm going to do the other side of the model, exactly the same process I've just done. I'm going to fix this as well while we're off camera, quickly. Just, oh, you can't even probably see it, but I can, and I don't like it. So I'm going to fix that little bit. And I may do some hand-painted Orabesh, like a squad marking. I might put Captain Yor, but just Yor in Orabesh on the bottom panel here, because I think that's what a lot of people are using this as at the moment. But you don't need to see that, because you've seen what I've done. You can see how nice that is. You know, it's so sharp, so tight. ProTech models, it'll make you anything you need. Yeah, they're just invaluable for what I'm doing. Right, so I'm going to go away. I'm going to do that. I'm going to come back to you, and I may even have touched up some of the black at that point. But I'll come back to you at that point and show you the whole thing. Okay, see you in a bit. Right, so we're back. I've finished all the stencil work, both sides, and I've gone round and I've cleaned all the edges, the overspray edges up with the black. I've just done 2, maybe 3 coats straight out of the pot, and as you can see, I'll see you on the overhead, it's looking very, very pretty already. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to split this into 2 episodes at least, if not 3. So the next one we're going to concentrate on doing all the grey highlights on the black. It's certainly more time consuming, and you've got more of a freehand work with your airbrush. So this is something where some of you might struggle with at first, but that'll be the next part. So we've done your blue white, you've had some stencil work, we've just gone back in, cleaned it up. Next video we'll address the greys, and maybe in the third part, if I don't touch it in the second part, we'll go in and do things like some lighting in the canopy, the engine glows, the metal work on the guns, pick out a few details, and then we're looking at a finished model, which is what I'd like you to work with me through. So hope you've enjoyed it. Sorry it's been a while in coming. There'll be a little bit more regular from now on. Catch you all soon. You know my page, spread the love, share the links out to everyone, get a few more people supporting us, then I can get a few more of these videos done. One love everyone, catch you soon.